Now, I wasn't going to say anything about this to y'all, but since you didn't hear me say it, I'm going to say it anyway. Other channels that provide you with federal resume tips and tricks and hacks ultimately do so because they either want you to pay for them to write it, or they want you to buy a tutorial for them to teach you how to write it. I'm going to tell you why that is. Because they don't know you. You're neither a family member or a neighbor. You are a customer. And your lack of knowledge is a disability, one they will never help you overcome fully until you've paid their price. All that I'm asking you to do is to please watch the video to the end, because I'm going to talk to you like your family. Mi familia, my family. You can get it all for free. So let's begin. This slide has 3 primary sections, which I'm going to go over with you as proof. Disparity is a disability. A lot of the stuff that they will teach you, you can simply read for yourself in the volumes of details that OPM management puts out. Or you can work for the government where you get paid or I get paid to follow the details. The word disparity contains the Latin word which means dis, as in apart or non. So as a disparity, it is kind of like a non-equality. The word is typically used in a social or economic condition where something is unfair or unequal. As an example, the salary disparity between men and women. I'm just reporting a fact. How and to whom information is shared can also create a disparity because it occurs based on one's economic condition, for what you are exposed to and who you know. If you work for the federal government and you share how to get in with only those with whom you are familiar, your inner circle, your friends, your relatives, you've created a barrier from those who have no association with you. Now, you can choose to maintain the barrier by selling your insights, or you can just give it away. My name is Lisa, and my choice is to give away my insights freely to you. Now, this slide here is from my workshop that I gave at the Department of Labor and Industry at what is now called the Career Link. But it was known then, and maybe still in some circles also, as the Employment Office, or take it way back, and it was called the Unemployment Office. There, I would have appointments with men as well as women in their 30s and 40s who were being laid off from what was a good job within a well-established industry. Their statements when I asked, "What did you do?" usually went like, "I just worked on the assembly line," or "I was just one of the janitors," which stuck with me because I heard it over and over again. And I'm going to go into more detail in my Work Wednesday more about that slide. Now today, our focus is going to be on what I learned from those clients about disparity, and I'm going to teach you also about nepotism and how it can work for you. Disparity is not a disability, not one of the ones that you can get from a Schedule A, but it is as important for you to know why. Because if you've been impacted by social or economic conditions that render you unfairly unequal, then your ability to convey the depth of information needed in order to qualify for referral, much less come up on the radar for the federal government, is dramatically impacted. There at the Career Link, I saw grown men in a rage, disappointed, upset after decades of working in a field, trucking or warehouse or in a factory, and not be considered for a federal job, no matter their veteran status, because they made statements that went straight to the point. They know what a truck driver does, or there ain't much I can talk about working in a warehouse, or all I did or was a janitor. There's not much to say about that. I didn't know these men or women, but what I was paid to work with them, number one. And two, they were a brotherhood or a sisterhood for which I identified with as veterans. So I invested into their success. Nepotism is using one's power to influence jobs to favor relatives or friends. My argument here is there is a place where who you know does come into play. Let me, Lisa, be who you know today. I'm going to read for you multiple points of proof from a government agency's assessment process. We are prohibited from drawing conclusions or making assumptions regarding your experience or qualifications. It's up to you to describe your past work experience in detail by providing examples related to those listed in the requirement section of the job announcement. So we've read that, but there is more you need to know, but only a relative or a friend is going to tell you. There are things that you can implement early on in your life that you can reap the benefits later on, but you can still start today, no matter your age. If you don't know how important it is to maintain good credit, you won't hesitate to open several credit cards. If you've bought into the belief that marijuana is only a recreational drug, you won't take the illegality of it seriously as an employee working for the federal government. If you believe that this is the only gang affiliation that you need to stay clear of, or that you can post anything because it's free speech, think again. If you think that you can stand on your credentials and pound your chest demanding respect to be qualified because you're a veteran or you have a degree, sorry, brother, it won't work. If I leave you to think these things, then you are disabled with a disparity because you don't know any better. But unlike the person who has a medical impairment, much like myself, yours can be corrected completely. You have to change your way of thinking by learning something new. You're making the application process harder. And those paid channels, I'm sorry, they want it to be harder, which is why I'm hell-bent on making it easier for you, even if it takes a much longer video. I'm speaking to you as fam, a friend, a neighbor. I gave you 3 areas of your security clearance, just like that: financial suitability, criminal history, and affiliations. What I read to you was just one aspect to getting qualified. And when I finish with this video, all 4 tips will be to your advantage. You have a choice to take your sister's advice or not. My proof goes on to this next point. Note, it goes on to say academic curriculum vitae, which is a fancy word to say the resume you were taught to write in school, typically do not include enough information for human resources professionals to determine if you meet the minimum eligibility requirements. Children of physicians are significantly more likely to be admitted to medical schools. Now, their parent can advocate, but I'm not saying pay. That's a whole nother scandal. They can advocate for their child to attend, but ultimately, their child is more likely to simply want to go to medical school in the first place because they've been prepared to be accepted into it. They went to school for it from the time they were in high school when they started going to AP classes, to the biology class that they selected in college, to the master's degree in physiology in order to be prepared to enter into med school. Nepotism at its highest level, as I stated earlier, would be for the doctor to get his or her child into school, irrespective if they've had a single relevant course but studied a degree in art. I'm telling you, I would love if my neighbors worked where I worked. I told you I hate to commute. We could ride share. If my daughter worked there, I know I would have someone to depend on if I left my money at home. But I don't. I live in the inner city, an urban environment, by choice because, one, I hate to commute, and it's part of my personal wealth building strategy. But it is also where the value of a good credit score is minimized, where gang affiliation is sadly a rites of passage, where one's political affiliation is revered and the other is fiercely detested, where marijuana is as harmless as a cigarette, and where being short and sweet is how to be to the point, because you know what I mean. Nepotism is illegal, yes. That doctor can't get his art student's son into medical school, but that doctor can provide and does a strong, effective, positive impact on the benefactors, his children. The example is where I gave you. His child is prepared to enter into medical school and has a greater chance at successfully graduating. That doctor's descendants benefit from a lifetime of learning and his earnings, just as will my children who've been exposed to a lifetime of stable learning and wealth outcomes that have been afforded to me as a direct result of my employment with the federal government. Whether they work for the federal government or not, they know personally the value of it and what they need to do at their core to get in. What I don't know is what socioeconomic level my audience comes from. You. But I do know that you can afford to hit like, so please do. You're here seeking to work for the federal government, and as I've said, I'm preaching to the choir, but hopefully at an entirely new level, which is the more I'm trying to provide here at Easy Federal Resumes. I want you to seek, obtain, maintain, and share your good fortune. This is the last section of proof, and here it is. The agency is telling you to ensure all of your essential information is in your resume. We encourage you to use the USAJOBS online resume builder. All right, now let's get back to nepotism. Nepotism at its most basic level is a product of people sharing information with people with whom they have a familiarity, family. You know this now because you've read it for yourself and you're a smart person. You're not going to ignore the facts. You know this now because you found my channel and we're related. Yes, absolutely we are, because we're smart people. Now let's put all 4 insights together. 1, it's up to you to describe your past work experience in detail. 2, a typical resume doesn't include enough information to determine if you meet the minimum eligibility requirements. 3, use the USAJOBS resume builder, which is your profile. 4, be mindful how you present yourself financially, legally, and publicly. Help someone else apply as well for free. Start your child off early, your neighbor on the right foot, to prepare for success early by showing them the basics, which I've shared here. Good credit is important. Marijuana, despite its recreational value, is still a federal crime. Associations matter, and your loyalty is to our country, irrespective of who is running it. Heck, send them this video. Smart people, get your foot in the door so that you can open the door for someone else and be the change you seek in your family, in your neighborhood, and in our country. Not by any means necessary, but by all means necessary, all 4 of them, because we are family. Bye for now.